This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome everyone, it's a wonderful day out here on Djuma Game Reserve and we have a bit of a rolling start, so welcome aboard. My name is Trishala for your very own live safari through the African bush.
Hello and good afternoon everybody. Welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands. We have got some buffalo here. My name is Steve Fulcrum, who's joined by BK on camera. Very excited to have you with us. A very warm welcome to all our SABC viewers. It is wonderful to have you with us this afternoon. It's nice and overcast and cloudy. It's not a very warm day today. It's only 23 degrees Celsius. But with this overcast, cloudy condition, it has been wonderful to be out and about. Now, we're with this herd of buffalo, and they would love to hear from you. You're welcome to ask any questions or comments. Send them through to #WildEarth on Twitter, @FC on the YouTube chat stream, or on Twitch. And if there are any kids out there that are interested in asking questions, get your parents to send through the questions at kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. The Cape or African buffalo, very much like a cow, aren't they? They are lying down. They've had a drink already a little while ago. We tracked them to this position and we're going to stay right with them.
Good afternoon everybody, and very warm welcome to And Beyond Ngala. We started off where we left this morning with a nice big pride of lions, and we can only see one of them at the moment. My name is Eric, behind camera is Owen, and we are sitting here at the moment trying to see if these lions are going to get active or not. And so far, no such luck. We've got that one lion that was in frame, this one here is one of the adults. So one of the older lionesses, and then the rest of them are somewhere in the bushes behind her. And this morning they were looking full and fat, and so I think they might have just found a nice resting spot in the shade, and they're probably not going to move too much. So it was just a quick little loop in here to see if everything was still okay. It seems like they're all healthy. And you can see that one there on the left, they've got a nice full stomach. So I don't think I'm going to stick around for too much longer. We might come back here a little bit later to see if there's any action when they start waking up.
Oh, that sounds so exciting. In fact, we had an update just a couple minutes ago that there may be a leopard around camp, so we're going to go have a look at that in a bit. But here we have a woolly-necked stork. It's the first one that I have ever seen in the Sabi Sands. How exciting is that? My name is Trishala and I've got Craig on camera this afternoon, and we have for you this glorious bird. Now remember, I said to you, keep a bird list as we go through all the different reserves with you guys live. Keep a bird list and you can tick woolly-necked stork off on it. Now they're usually seen in KZN and they're locally uncommon for us here, so this is very exciting to be able to see them, and they like wetland environments, and this is quite a dry environment in our broad-leaved woodlands that we have here and savanna. But as you can see, it is hanging out in an area where there is water here at Treehouse Dam. Look at those long legs, and you can see a very distinct neck. Oh, a little gift for us. The neck is woolly. That's where the name comes from, and you can see that it's got a very dark body and a white neck. In fact, it's the only stork that we will see that has that kind of coloration. And so it's quite easy to identify. Anyway, we're going to go and check out that leopard update, see if we can find any spots.
Good afternoon from a beautiful day at Swala Kalahari. My name's Dylan and it is great having you with us. I'm talking very softly because we've got something particularly special and exciting for you this afternoon. I don't know if it's going to work, but what we've got, we've built this little blind over here. We've dug a little hole in the ground, picked branches over here. I'm actually going to sit lower down just now. What we've got here, Chandra going to look at it now. That little pile of sand in the far distance there, just at the base of those trees. Inside that pile of sand, there's a hole, a little spring hare hole, but it's not a spring hare living in there. That is the nest of a shelduck, a South African shelduck. Very, very, very uncommon to find these birds' nests. And we put in a lot of effort over the past couple of weeks actually trying to locate this bird. And it was a lot of walking, a lot of observations, but we finally got it right. And yesterday we had the most beautiful sighting of the female coming out and going and feeding and then coming back later. So this is what I'm hoping we're going to get for you this afternoon.
Thanks, Dylan, and welcome back live to Djuma, everybody, where we are still with our very alert but yet snoozy buffalo. They always are wonderful animals to spend time with. Whenever I can find buffalo, I will track them down. Excuse me. It's a very good practice if you are early days of tracking, because a buffalo herd leaves an enormous amount of tracks and an enormous amount of poo. Ishwa's 6 years old. Do you want to know why it's always the mum who's with the babies and not the dad? Well, Ishwa, that is a very good question, really. In most mammals, that is the way it works. There are some bird species, though, where the male actually does all of the work. And the female, she goes away as soon as the eggs have hatched. So it is a very good one, but most of the time, the mum is the one who provides the milk. So the dad, once he's done doing what dads do, in Animal Kingdom, there's not really too much for him to do with regards to the raising of the youngster. The little youngsters will spend a lot of time with mum, and they will suckle from her for at least 10 months, which is quite incredible. And so she provides them with milk, although up till 7 months it's possible that she stops providing milk. And the calves go through a little bit of a weaning process in that way until the new calf arrives. But the bulls are here in the herd. We just can't see any at the moment. Most of what we can see is females. Leave it wild, indeed. They do have pathfinders. Buffalo herds are very interesting in that regard. And when you spend time with them, you'll notice that there are specific individuals, females and some males, that will sort of lead the way, as it were. Buffalo are a very ecologically important animal. And when they go and they drink, and then they maybe move off to lie down like they've done now, there are individuals in the herd that will position themselves in a specific way. That afterwards, once they stand up, the whole herd knows that's the direction and they start walking. And that's why they're called pathfinders. They want to take the herd into areas of good grazing, to water and from water, but constantly in these sort of flower-like petal motions away and back again, trying not to cover the same area again and again. Otherwise, they obviously overgraze and don't get enough food for the herd. A large herd like this needs to eat the best and tastiest grass. Hello, loyal subscribers and watchers of the show. Welcome to the buffaloes and the oxpeckers. The ecology is profound. The red-billed oxpecker perched on the head of the buffalo. I wonder what it feels like to be perched on the head of such a dangerous animal. Craig and I actually went this afternoon to do some burpee sprints in the middle of quarantine, which is the safest area for us to do so. This herd had moved through quarantine this morning on our way back from morning drive. And as Craig and I were getting prepared to do some exercise, the big buffalo bull decided he wanted to join in. So we decided not to do our burpee sprints there. It's hard enough doing it with only Craig and myself. Doing it with the buffalo bull watching, well, I don't think we would have been able to manage that. But anyway, we got the exercise in nonetheless in another place. And we're very lucky and happy to have tracked down this herd who are just north of our boundary. So they're not far from crossing over. They walked through quarantine. I had a feeling they were going to Vuyatela Dam, and they did not. They turned and went to Treehouse Dam, had a drink, and they went continued south. So we might see some activity this afternoon, because just below where we are now is where we had tracks of those lionesses going this morning. Hello everybody, and welcome back live to Djuma, where we are still with our buffalo herd, giving us all sorts of entertainment. That little one is at least lying down. You can see by the motion of the jaw, it's busy chewing. It's not chewing gum, everybody. He's buffalo feeding on grass, feed on the best and most available grass around. Their tongue being very, very good at gripping and pulling the grass, which they then ingest, feeding quite rapidly, most of the ruminants do, and then they can go and have a drink, sit down, like what they're doing now, and chew, chew, chew. So essentially, with the four-chambered stomach, they are ruminating. So ruminating basically means maximizing the surface area of the vegetation. You can imagine throwing an enormous amount of grass into your belly in quick time, and then going and sitting down somewhere, and then regurgitating that, chopping it up finer and finer and finer, covering it in saliva, which is loaded with bacteria and microorganisms which assist in breaking down that material. And it goes into that tummy, the finer particles filter down to the bottom. They then move into the next stomach, and then from there on it starts to go through the process of sort of breakdown and absorption. The body then starts breaking down the minerals, the nutrients, and starts absorbing them, and then slowly but surely reabsorbing not only the microorganisms and the nutrients, the microorganisms being very high in protein, but the water as well, to a degree, as it eventually exits out of the bottom as a very nice cow pat. But if you've seen a cow pat before, they're very similar to a buffalo pat. They are very, very bad at sort of looking after water conservation. So buffalo are very water-dependent animals, and they will move to and from water regularly. Scenic overgrazing is bad in general, so not just for other animals, but buffalo aren't really capable of overgrazing. They move in response to where the food is. And as soon as the grass gets too short, they actually don't have anything to feed on, and they'll have to move somewhere where it is. They're very nomadic. You wouldn't say buffaloes have got a territory. They move in a very large sort of home range in response to food. And those pathfinders we spoke about before are generally dominant or older females that move the herd around into areas of good grazing. So buffalo actually, importantly, remove a lot of the grass, chopping it down a bit so they facilitate and open up the vegetation for other animals such as impala, wildebeest, and many other of the grazers that we find. And at the same time, their hooves and their dung, and you imagine a buffalo herd lying here for a few hours, deposit an enormous amount of organic material, which that and the disturbance is quite powerful in a short period of time. And when they move off, life is returned to the soil.
I won't show them now. Wait. So, we've got something really interesting for you. But I just want to tell you about these ducks first while we're waiting here. Okay, these ducks are incredibly special. If Jean-Andre and I get this duck today coming in and out this nest, it's probably, our stance correction, it's probably the first time ever that it's been filmed. Okay, so that's what we're hoping for. Fingers, toes, arms, legs, whatever you can cross it now. But how cool is this? So this just looks like another rock. It looks like a pretty rock. Okay, cool. All right, there's lots of pretty rocks. Okay, this is mind-blowingly awesome. Okay, some of you may have already guessed what it is, but I would guess probably most of you wouldn't have guessed. This is called a stromatolite. A stromatolite. Okay, this is the oldest known fossil life form on the planet. Okay, these ones, this is actually from Swale. Don't panic, it's GPS, we know where it's from, we'll put it back there, I'm just saying. And it's not broken off the parent rock, this is loose lying. Okay, this is a fossil of a, what we call a cyanobacteria, it's algae. Okay, these are the earliest known life forms. And what's actually done here, these concentric circles are actually formed by the algal growths, like that. They grow out, and some of these can be absolutely massive. The biggest ones of examples of this that we got on Swale, you're looking at about 2 meters crossed by about 1 meter high, give or take. But there are actually living examples still in the world. Shark Bay in Australia is one really, really good example. And in South Africa, we've actually got a place outside Port Elizabeth, near a little town called Seaview. And in that place in South Africa, they've also got living ones. Rosalind has just says how amazing this is. This is way more than amazing. And this takes us back to the deepest time. The fact that all of us are breathing oxygen is thanks to these guys changing the atmosphere originally. These fossils are dated back to about 2 billion years old. 2 billion, not 2 million, 2 billion years old. The estimate, the range for these on Swale is about 1.8 to about 2.2 billion years. So let's work on an average of 2 billion. That is incredible. And if you think of that history that we are holding here, a 2 billion year old life form, that is something to be like, that's wow on so many different levels. It's not even funny. So thanks to this little guy, we're breathing oxygen. How cool is that, eh?
Oh, I love fossils. I really, really do. Now we've got an awesome little group of impala. And they're at a little pan called Galigo Pan. Oh. Aren't they just beautiful? No, they're looking out in that direction. That's important for us because remember I told you about the leopard that we want to follow up on? And that leopard could have easily moved in this direction. So we need to watch out and listen out for clues that the impala might have for us. Many of these females will be pregnant at the moment. I think I saw what was irritating them. There's some vervet monkeys in the tree. All the South Africans out there know exactly how irritating they can be, and not surprised at all that the impala are also a little irritated by them. Sitting and watching. Now they're also a really good indicator of a predator being around, and they give an alarm call that I'm sure you're all familiar with, that I will not be impersonating. And you can see that they're in the tops of the trees, so they can look out for quite a distance and let us know if they see a predator around. Lots of things happening here at Galago Pan. The impala are getting a little confused, running around, and we also have a gymnogene, or an African harrier hawk. David, you say this drive seems to be all about monkey business. David, if I had given you the impression of a vervet monkey's alarm call, then certainly 100%, 110% would have been all about monkey business. Here's our gymnogene. We'll be looking for small little holes where there may be some chicks, even some reptiles that can get its talons on. Off it goes. That tree is not good enough. Nothing to eat there. It's a little bit breezy. The males in this herd still have a little bit of testosterone left over from the rut, and they're rushing about, but they're still alert, so maybe they will give us a clue about the leopard. I'm really happy that the monkeys are around, because a monkey alarm call is really good. Really, really good. And that leopard that was seen on the dam cam moved into the bushes. I'm not sure what direction that leopard moved in, but it's valuable to check all kind of areas north of the dam. Galago Pan would be a good spot. But as you can see, lots of impala around, but perhaps that's what the leopard needs. Remember when we had Tandi? There was a herd of impala not 20 meters from her. So we may just be lucky.
No pictures. Speak after live eh? Welcome back to Welcome back to Ambjörn Ngala, and we've just found this beautiful male leopard. And he is up, he's looking around, he's alert. And whilst we were sitting here, there was a herd of impala that slowly walked past, and they didn't know that this leopard was here. He was watching them, but he didn't look very interested. But it is really nice to see that he is so alert compared to those lions that we've just seen. And one of the reasons why he's here, if if you have a close look, especially on the right-hand side of his face, see if you can see any slight color differences. You might, especially on the cheek, just see a little bit of blood or red on the side of his face. And so this male has spent what was probably the majority of the late morning and up to now feeding on the carcass. And so he's got an impala carcass in the tree to the left of him over here. It's a little bit out of view, but it is there, and it does look like he's got a really nice helping of it. You might just see one or two things dangling past and through the red leaves over there. And so there's not too much left, but there's enough for him to want to stick around and carry on feeding. And so on a cool day like this, he might even try and climb up the tree. These leopards have got a very, very wide variety when it comes to their diet. And I mean, within this area, within the Greater Kruger National Park and even down into Phinda, one of the most abundant animals that these leopards will hunt is impala, because there's just so many of them. And so that probably falls the majority of their diet. But then they're capable, I mean, a big male leopard like this might even go after something like a small kudu, but then it's also happy to go after something like a steenbok or a grey duiker. And they've got a huge range of diets. And so if there's no antelope species available, then they'll go and hunt small little rodents. They might even hunt birds. There have been occasions where leopards have been documented catching fish before. And so they're not fussy at all. And it's one of the reasons why they are so successful, because they've got the ability to change their diet whenever they please, basically. And basically their diet suits their habitat that they're in. And nice to see, he's still alert, probably responding to a quick little sniff that he got. So he's still looking around, and he's just a really nice specimen. If you look at his nose, it's completely black in color with it, maybe a little bit of pink in the middle. And just below that nose, those big, big, big shoulders of his. And so he's very, very muscular. He's in the prime of his life, and he's holding this territory. Debbie, you are correct. It is a leopard that we call the Tamboti male or the Tamboti Tom. And you're asking how we can identify him. And I mean, we look at the whisker patterns. So the spot patterns above the whiskers at least. And so as he turns on his right hand side, you see just above the very top of the whiskers, there's those 3 dots. So one close to his nose, one nice big one in the middle, and then one towards the end. And on his left hand side, he's got exactly the same number. So there we go, there's a nice view of it. So he's got a 3-3 spot pattern. That's one way of identifying him. Otherwise, you can look at his face. And for me, in proportion to his face, he's got very, very small eyes. And that's one of the ways that I use to identify him. But there are a few different ways, and maybe we'll show you a little bit later.
Exactly. Sometimes you can look at spot patterns, but sometimes you just learn to identify the way it looks at you. Certain scars, certain marks on the ears. And some of our leopards are very recognizable by their faces. I can't even remember some of the spot patterns. But trying to identify individual buffaloes can be quite tricky. That one is just chilling this afternoon, as you can tell. Just taking it very easy. It's a female buffalo, everybody. You can tell that by the hairy bit on the top of the head. Hello, Carla. You want to know if they mange spots on the faces? I don't think it's mange, but buffalo, as they get older, they do actually do lots and lots of scratching and rubbing, and it's a good way to tell the age of a buffalo, or at least older versus younger by the fact, well, that one's obviously going to photobomb. Underneath the eyes is a place that they scratch a lot and rub, and the hair there just basically gets removed. There's also a fair amount of tears that happen there, and so that might also aid in itchiness and them scratching. But as buffaloes get older, they start losing a bit more fur, as we do as well. Some people lose a bit more fur on the top. As buffaloes get older, as we find a little youngster. Can you see that youngster on the right, BK, just behind that one? Not that one, the one just below it on the floor. That little brown, it's just behind the bush, but it's got fur everywhere. It's very clean. And young buffaloes, so you can show any other one you want to now, BK. Sorry, that's not the best shot. But young buffaloes are easy to discern from others because they're very clean. They have lots of fur still. And the older they get, especially see it with the boys, they really start losing lots and lots of fur. Michaela, you want to know what they're actually eating? Well, the buffalo spend a fair amount of time picking up grass. That's what they feed on most of the time. They will feed on a few bits of leaves at certain times of the year, but they've gone and filled that first belly with a lot of grass that they've done no chewing to. They just basically grab it, put it in the mouth and swallow. And so what they're doing now is they are regurgitating what they've already chewed or swallowed and chopping it finer and finer and finer. It's a process called rumination. It's very common in many animals, many plant-eating animals. Cows, goats, giraffe, kudu, buffalo, steenbok, to name but a few. And you'll often find them going through these periods of sitting down and resting and chewing, so that they can break up those particles to very small size, and they are then broken down in the belly, and whatever nutrients available are absorbed, and the rest comes out as poo. So very finely divided and broken up particles, and that is exactly what's happening. It's a benefit for these animals because they can go and feed in cooler times of the day, and then when it's very hot, they can go find some shade and just maximize what they're getting out of the vegetation. Whereas an animal like an elephant, a hippo, a rhino, well, let's leave hippo out for the moment, but rhino, horses, zebras, they're feeding all the time. They don't have time to just go and take it easy. They're eating and eating and eating. And nothing is getting chewed very, very well. And they chew it once, a few times, it goes in the belly, and it comes out the other end. And so they're feeding all day. They don't have time to go sit in the shade. But obviously there's benefits to both sides of the coin. Ruminants versus what we call non-ruminants. And it's very, very interesting to delve deeper into that topic. Obviously, these guys with the rumination, they can't do very well when the vegetation loses its quality because they're chewing gum basically. It's got no nutrients, whereas zebras and elephants can feed on an enormous amount more food in a shorter period of time, so they get more out of the bulk. So they can do much better in the winter months, much better when the vegetation is of poor quality, and so the benefits for them outweigh what the ruminants go through. But these guys are going to be chilling in the shade. We're going to move off shortly, see what else we can find. Okay, everybody, we've been spending some time with these buffaloes. Tandy was seen this morning. Should we go find her? BK?
Sure, brother.
Raymond? Don't want to disturb them. They're trying to have a nap. Just gonna take it very easy. Don't look at me like that. The looks buffalo give you, everybody. Love it. Love the looks that they can give you. They don't know we're in an ad break though, so we're just going to leave before they know we are. I ran out of speed on this downhill. Okay, we're going to get out of here. There's a very big herd of buffalo. We saw them this morning. And they're probably in the 200 mark. Maybe less, but it was a big herd. Just all going here. We're going to go over to the other side of the Moati, see if we can pick up on any activity of Tundi from this morning.
This male leopard seems to have found a really nice spot to rest, and I think one of the ways why he's comfortable here is he is able to scan, so he can watch down what's happening down below him in the drainage line, and then he can look in these big open clearings to see if there's anything else approaching. And I mean, with him being the big dominant male in this area, the only two things that he'll have to really worry about are lions and maybe a couple of hyenas if they work together. But I mean, with this carcass in the tree, it's safe. He's happy to rest down on the ground where it's a lot more comfortable and probably cooler. So Dina, I think it's more the other way around, where leopards might be a threat to vervet monkeys in trees. The only way that a vervet monkey will pose a threat to a leopard is by alarm calling. And if you just heard those birds and he picked up his head to look around, that bird, although it wasn't there, it could have alarm called at that leopard. And if there were any predators moving around, like the leopard or hyena or even the lion that I mentioned, they might come investigate to see what's going on. So if there's a kill around, they might be able to get a quick, easy meal. And so if a vervet monkey starts alarm calling at this leopard, then it might put it in danger in some way. But if it's a young leopard who's energetic and fit, and they might spend some time actually hunting the vervet monkeys. So you might find it's more the other way around, where the leopards are more of a threat to the vervet monkeys than the monkeys are to the leopards. So he's looking pretty comfortable and relaxed now, but it just takes a couple of movements before he reacts. And I mean, I would love to get the opportunity to show you him climbing up the tree. And so that's what we're going to be waiting for.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Dumi from and Beyond Pinda Private Game Reserve. As you can see, right behind the camera, Marcel is right there. We just look at it, that cheetah with two cubs. As you can see, beautiful. They just stood up. I'm not sure what they pick it up. This must be a order or something. As you can see, they all stood up now, except the other one just looking. And yeah, you can see they keep on looking around. Not sure what they heard. Probably they pick up a sound or something, because they just get up and set at the same time. So that female looks like she hasn't caught anything since from yesterday morning. She's been trying. As you can see, that she's look more skinny, and she's been covering long distance. We did find her earlier and we lost her because she was moving through the bushes, and now finally we just find her again. And I'm not sure, it's one of the habited guys driving across there. That's why they pick up the sound, and that's why she's looking like that. Because anything from them, it's a movement or sound, they more aware about that. Especially she have to look after these two youngsters. Yeah, she can't just lie down, just relax. She have to make sure she's checking up every single time. And yeah, this is a lovely female cheetah. She was born here at Pinda, and she spent so much time up on the western part of the reserve. These two cubs, they were born up on the west, and then slowly coming down. Actually, she started 3. She lost 1. I'm not quite sure what happened there, but she looks like she's doing so much better with these two now. Not sure if they're all gonna make it, but as you know, this is a very, very good place for like lion as well, leopard also, they are around. This is very high risk for her. She have to make sure every time she move into a different area where she feel more safe. She's been hanging around like almost now a week now to this area where she feel more comfortable. She's not worrying about anything. Yeah, you can see she's like more relaxed and more habituated to this area. Well, we'll stay with her, see what she's gonna end.
How awesome do me cheetahs. I really wish we could see more cheetah this side. But anyway, we've caught up with a brown hooded kingfisher. How beautiful is he or she? See a very dirty head, the red beak with the sort of darker tip. We do get the grey-headed here as well. Quite a special one to see. The whole head is grey and then it's got a very brown chest. You can see this one's got a little bit of a flecked chest. Beautiful blue on the wing. They're a sort of bushveld sort of kingfisher, although the name kingfisher means they fish. They don't all fish. Actually, these guys feed mainly on insects and small things, maybe even a lizard or two, spiders, but insects. They would probably feed on some tadpoles and some frogs, but they don't spend too much time at the water. Ooh, lovely little scratch on the chest. It's their prime habitat. We're in a little river depression here, and these guys like to nest in cavities in the riverbanks. That's why they've got such a dirty head. Quite nice to remember that. Very common to see them sitting, perched. It's one of those birds that if you find, you'll be able to get some really nice photographs. If you don't push them too much, you can get a really nice shot of them because they sit for a period of time waiting for something to move. And then when it moves, they flop down on it, catch it. Nice energy-efficient way of hunting. And of course, while you're waiting to eat, you might as well do a bit of preening and grooming. You never know who's around. Carla, no, these birds stay here all year round. The only migratory kingfisher we have here is the woodland kingfisher, and they have gone already. They're only here for the summer months, and they completely take over. It's almost impossible to actually find a brown hooded in those periods, because the woodland are everywhere. And the woodland have got no sort of dark colours to the head. They're all quite grey and very blue. Ooh, in the armpit, quite blue. Very loud, very vociferous. They come here to breed, so they take over. But they do use cavities in the trees for nesting, the woodland. They don't nest in the banks. So these two don't have to compete for that. Just looking. Very good eyesight. Birds. Obviously use their eyesight for mate recognition, predator defense. Ooh, he's getting ready, BK. There you can see the chest is flecked with brown. It's not solid brown, like wearing a jersey. And with the eyesight, it's trying to pick out if something's moving on the ground. I love Jewel. How beautiful are those feathers? Type of what we call Tyndall scattering there, which is basically like water droplets on the feathers. It's almost like looking through glass. Little bubbles in the feathers, very, very small, and the way the light reflects through it is actually what gives it that wonderful, wonderful color.
We have found some leopard tracks, and now we've heard some impala alarm calls. Now that's really important because tracks, you're always a few minutes or hours behind an animal. Alarm calls mean that at that moment a predator is on the move, or they can see or smell one. So that's very, very important for us. Hopefully we'll get lucky and we'll get to see this leopard. Go away, bird, as well.
Looking down into the stranger.
Bird's looking in the opposite direction. Bird's looking towards that little pan. This is so frustrating.
So
You reckon wait?
heading around Mama Road.
I'm not sure. Alright. Okay. Sounds like it's moving. It sounds like it's... Sorry guys, there's just so much happening. There's definitely alarm calls. Franklin's in the trees. And it's a terrible, terrible block. Listen to the impalas. That kind of consistency, they can see the animal. They can 100% see the animal. It's not just smell it. Can you hear that? There is a leopard in this drainage and we are going to find it. Remember, this is happening live, everyone, so you are going on the journey with me to find this leopard.
I hope Trish managed to find it, and it's amazing how these things work. I mean, she sounds like all of the signs are pointing towards there's a leopard in the area, and we were literally, one of the tracking vehicles was driving along and managed to find a carcass up the tree, and that we weren't even looking for leopards, so it was really quite a fluke that it happened. So these little things do happen in the bush where you get caught by surprise, and with a big male leopard like this, it's always a nice surprise to find yourselves at least. Mount Perio, we can age a leopard. It is sometimes quite tricky, and we don't know the exact age of this male. And the reason being is that he came in from an area where he wasn't used to vehicles as an adult. And so we estimated him to be around 3 years old when we first started seeing him. And that was roughly 4 years ago. So we think that he's between the ages of 7 and 8 years old, maybe 6.5, 7.5 years old, somewhere in that bracket. And there's a few different things that you can look for. So the condition of him overall, how big he is. I mean, if he's a mature male and he's looking big, it will be 5, 6 years old all the way to 8 or 9 years old. And then you can look at the color of the nose sometimes. So now he stands up. Hey, thank you, making my job a lot easier. And so if we look at his face in nice close detail, the first thing that we look at is that flap of loose skin. He's looking up at the carcass now. This is exciting. Maybe he's feeling hungry. So that flap of skin hasn't really developed properly yet, but you can see it's loose, especially around his throat. And so that's what we refer to as a dewlap. That's a nice example of it. And so as he gets older, that dewlap will become more and more pronounced. And with that, he might become, obviously he gets older and he might have to defend his territory more regularly, which means that he might have to fight more. And when they fight, big yawn. That's an amazing sign for us. So if he's looking up at a carcass and yawning, there's a chance that he could climb it. I'm not going to get my hopes up yet because of that. Always had a sneaky suspicion that was going to happen. But at least we got to see his face. And I was talking about, as they get older, they start fighting and competing for territories, or they're defending their territories more from young suitors that are coming in to challenge. And as a result, they'll get more and more scarred up. So the bridge of their nose will become very, very broken up and scarred. And then the ears become very tatty and torn. And that just happens with age. So about, I would say, these male leopards might live until about 12 years old or so. Richard, this male is the dominant one for this area. And I think the really cool thing about these territories is it is so fluid. And so he's got quite a large territory that he moves around in. And he basically, this whole river system is his territory, right up until maybe about, from here to the right, maybe another 1.5 kilometers to the right, and further away. Maybe about 3 weeks ago, Barney actually saw this male leopard and another big male leopard literally sitting side by side and growling at one another. And so that is a boundary, and that was probably only about 1.5 kilometers away from here. So he really wants to look after his section around the river, because that's where there's an abundance of food, and more importantly, probably, there's a high density of females that he can mate with. And so he really wants to be in this area, but he does venture a little bit further away. So he is definitely the dominant one in this area.
Look at this, guys. We have found her. You can just see a little bit. There's a bit of her tail, and she has a kill in the tree of an impala. So if you're sensitive, you might not want to have a look at the carcass. And it looks like our Princess Tlalamba. Tlalamba is Tandi's daughter. She looks like she's coming down, and she's moving about a little bit now. Can you hear the Franklin shouting at her? She's put her kill into a tambuti. A beautiful tree and a beautiful leopardess. Won't you show us your face? Now, how exciting is that? You get to be with us through the adventure of looking for tracks, driving around, hearing alarm calls. And then finding her. Just awesome. Now, Tlalamba was born in November of 2017. She is Tandi's daughter. She's a 5'5" female. That means her spot pattern or whisker pattern is 5'5". Amazing. Absolutely stunning. Of course, now she's hiding her face from us, and something has either gotten in her mouth or or upset her a little bit. But you'll find that when leopards are pulling fur off an animal, which they will do before they feed, then some of that fur gets stuck. Yes, that's it. Gets stuck in the mouth, and she does what looks like a snarl, as if something's bothering her, but in fact she's just trying to get some of that fur out of the awkward spots. You can even see some blood on her paws there. This is so fortunate, so fortunate. Gorgeous. Cleaning and cleaning herself. Rosalind, you wanted to know how many leopards there are in Africa. I'm not sure how many leopards there are in Africa in total. Leopards have quite a large area that they can expand. It's Asia as well as Africa, and I'm sure there are quite a few, but I can find out for you, Rosalind.
And then this male leopard is showing even more promise now. He's picked up his head a number of times, flopped back down, and now he's grooming. And so hopefully he decides to get up. And we do have quite a good view of the tree. It's a bit obstructed, but it's going to be a good place for us to watch him if he decides to climb. It might just be him deciding to get clean, and he could go back to sleep for another hour or so. But hopefully it's promising. It's amazing to see. I mean, this was the finished product, and you got to see that pretty much with Trish. It's quite an amazing opportunity to see the monkeys alarm calling and impalas, to seeing that leopard in the tree. We've got another leopard here at Ngala. We've got lions that were here a little bit earlier on. It's been a really wonderful hour. And to all of the SABC viewers, if you'd like to continue watching, please feel free to hop over onto YouTube and follow the Wild Earth channel, where we'll be broadcasting for another 2 hours until 6 o'clock this evening. And hopefully, if he doesn't climb in the next little bit, hopefully within the next hour or so, he might be up the tree and we get to watch him. So thank you all for tuning in, and we wish you all a pleasant evening. Come on, let's see. Hopefully he climbs for us. Welcome to all of our regular viewers, and we are still here with Anbion at Anbion Ngala with this beautiful Tamboti male leopard. My name, in case you didn't know, is Eric, and Owen is behind camera. So we've been here for the last half an hour or so, and we're really desperate to see this male leopard climb up the top of the tree. He's been threatening to get moving, he's been yawning, he's been grooming, but he is continuing sleeping like this. So it's just a matter of time, I think. And what I'd really like to see is some movement of hyenas a little bit later on, walking through this grassland. And that might encourage him to climb up the tree a little bit later. So like I said, because it's just such a spectacular thing to watch, a leopard climbing up a tree, myself and Owen are going to plant ourselves right here, and we're not going to move until he does so. Until then,
We are so happy that we could have found her. I really wanted to see her before my stint ends. I really couldn't be happier. This was a typical best scenario tracking or trying to look for leopards. Saw a few tracks and they weren't even that clear, and then heard the alarm calls and we took a chance. Let's get into this drainage. They were so strong all over the place, so I'm so happy, so happy. And Craig did spot it in the tree. Well done, Craig. The squirrels did also give us the indication, so it was just clues all around, all over the place, to let us know that she is around. She's thinking about it. Do I want to jump down? Do I not want to jump down? Isn't she just beautiful? And it's such a stunning tree too. If only she could move this kill to the big jackalberry that's behind me, which is my third favorite tree on the property. Can you do that for me, Tlalamba? She says, no, don't be spoiled. Come on. Ooh, lions ate my mum. You're asking if Tlalamba has shown any interest. Look at that face. In waiting just yet. We've not had many sightings with her in the last while. You know, leopard sightings in general have been quite scarce, but we've been quite lucky the last couple days or the last few weeks. We've had Tingana, Sibui, and now Tlalamba, as well as Kara. So we've been lucky, but I haven't got any information about whether she's shown any interest in mating just yet. You know, she'll be 3 years old this year, so she should be showing some interest. Sometimes leopards 2 years old, 2.5 years old. 3 years most often quoted. But she should be showing interest by now, or at least starting to feel, shall we say, a little broody. Oh, look at that face. This our princess, she walks around, she motors about, and she doesn't stay in one spot. She keeps on moving. She's hanging out in Buffelshoek quite a bit in the north. So we haven't had much information about what she's doing there. Whether she's found a mate, anything like that. But that will be very interesting. And I, for one, can't wait for her cubs. I've always wanted a Tlalamba Hosana set of cubs. Sounds a bit strange since Hosana is her uncle. But they have a lot of leeway in their genetics so that they can allow for quite a few generations of inbreeding before there's any negative impact. And Taylor made a really important question. You'd like to know why her breathing is accelerated right now. Is she scared? It's likely that she just made this kill. She hasn't eaten much from the carcass at all. She's exhausted. She's picked this tambuti that has quite long, tambuti trees have very long trunks. And it can be a little bit difficult for her to get a good grip. So she's watching herself. She's watching out for she doesn't slip, because she did slip earlier. And she's also very tired and exhausted, so all that, the combination of all those things, she just needs to relax for a little bit and then she'll start eating. She hasn't eaten from that carcass much at all. I don't see any of the rumen and things like that lying about. And that would be the first thing she would do. So I'd say this kill is a very, very fresh. And she would have been the one that you saw on the dam cam around at 2:10. Moving off. So within the last hour, or well, no, last 2 hours, she made this kill. At least just from evidence. But from her panting, I say she's made it in the last 40 minutes to half an hour. Aren't we just lucky?
Welcome back, everyone. Again, this is Dumi here. We're still sitting here with her. As you can see, she just stood up now. She's looking. She's facing eastern direction from where we are, and she just heard a monkey alarming, because that monkey, when they saw her, they gone crazy. As you can hear them, probably won't be able to hear them, but if you can hear, they sound like cow, 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 cow. That is the monkeys. What you can hear further behind us. That's where the cheetah facing it. And earlier on, it was a inyala barking. Must be some other predators around in the area. So that's why there's cheetah that were up already, trying to scan around there. Normally, when the cheetah hear the monkeys alarming like that, they all moved off because they know they were already been seen by some other animals like monkeys, trying to make sure stay away from the anyone knows where they are. So like that.
Question. Terry.
Who?
A single hyena
How come?
race to a cheetah. Terry.
Yeah, affirmative, Kerry. The single hyena can easily chase the cheetah off and can also able to kill it, no problem. Wow, look, she's looking. I'm not sure if she's gonna move. She's gonna move anyway, I'm not sure, but looks like she's quite stable for now. She doesn't want to move anyway. Beautiful sun shining direct to her, warming up nicely. Wow, she looks like she might stay a little bit longer here. Not sure what's going to happen, because she's already heard the monkeys and doesn't look like she's keen to move. No sign of anything in power like that around. We'll just stay with her.
And we are back with something that is one of the coolest animals on Swalu. Out of all of the cool animals, and I've only ever seen them 5 or 6 times in almost 16 years here now. It's a South African hedgehog. This one is very dead, I promise. Okay, but what's interesting about this, similar defense strategy to porcupines, with having these prickles, also black and white, but he's completely dried out. He's completely hollowed out. And this is a very, very cool find, because you normally find these around nesting sites or roosting sites of giant eagle owls, what's also known as a Verreaux's eagle owl. It's those massive grey ones we've seen them before a couple of times on our drive already at Swallow and at some of the other places. But this is quite an important food item for them in these areas. And typically they'll catch these hedgehogs. The spines do nothing to the giant eagle. I mean, they've got such big, their talons are almost the size of my hand. They just look nicer than my hands. But they grab these hedgehogs and then they actually turn them upside down. And because they're got such powerful birds, these little hedgehogs don't stand a chance. And then they just eat the soft underside. They pretty much eat everything. And then they drop this. So these are quite cool to find. Not that common here. Like I say, I've seen about 5 or 6 in my entire time at Swallow. But they are around. And the other thing about these, it's very rare. I've never seen them active in winter here. These are little insectivores, so they're going after insects, and even little caterpillars, worms, earthworms sometimes. So they actually they prefer the summer months to be active, because that's when they can actually... Oops, I'm breaking a hide. My goodness. Sorry, hide. I don't want to make a noise for the duck. And the reason I wanted to show you this now is we're going into duck time. In another 20 minutes, it's going to be duck time. Mark has asked, why am I whispering if the hedgehog is dead? This one isn't dead. This is my pet hedgehog. He's just very dry. I don't want to make a noise because of the ducks. The mother duck, Shelby, remember, it's the shell duck, so it's Shelley and Sheldon, Shelby, shell duck. The mother, the female, is down the nest on eggs at the moment. We are sitting at a very comfortable distance. We're about 65, 70 yards, 70 meters away from the nest. And the wind is also coming across us, so they're not that they can't even smell us. But I just want us to make sure that there is no impact on that nest site whatsoever. Those birds must come and go without any interference from us. Gizmo's asked, that's a very good question. Gizmo's asked, what are the various causes of death of hedgehogs? Okay, so we know predation, and giant eagle owls are just one example. Jackals will kill them. Honey badgers, they will snaffle a hedgehog in about 3 seconds if they get it. Then, interestingly, I was in the UK many years ago, and I actually saw hedgehogs out there that almost looked like they had myxomatosis, which is a disease that really afflicts rabbits. Those of you who are familiar with the novel Watership Down will be aware of that. But anyway, but I can't say it was, and everyone that I asked there said no, they don't get it. So anyway, but South African hedgehogs, these little guys, and also cats, domestic cats, will take in like the high-veld areas of South Africa, Johannesburg, Pretoria, those areas you get lots of hedgehogs, but domestic cats and dogs are a big threat to these little guys. So they're also incredibly well camouflaged. They rely on their camouflage. When they're rolled up, these almost look like, at night, they look like little tufts of dried grass, and they're only active at night. I've only seen them active at night here, so their camouflage is absolutely impeccable.
Welcome to Djuma, everybody, and good afternoon. If we have not greeted each other formally already this afternoon, we have got some wonderful impalas in the thickets enjoying what it seems the tambuti leaves that are falling on the floor. Many of our browsers will feed on tambuti leaves after they've lost their milky latex. And there, of course, is a male impala, just making sure his ladies are all together. And as always, it's a very warm welcome to all of you. Welcome to Djuma. My name's Steve, joined by BK on camera. And as always, very excited to have you on board with us. So, impalas in the thickets. How wonderful. We were looking for any sign of Tundi from this morning and haven't found any. I'm going to be doing just one more loop of this block. And then I'm going to be swapping out and jump. Oh, the ladies might find us one there. There was a warthog over there a moment ago, and sometimes warthogs running through the long grass can spook impalas. Hello, River. Well, there's some stories about the common duiker being an animal that walks around and eats baby birds out of their, out of their nests on the floor. I've never seen it, but warthogs, not being an antelope, of course, they've been known to feed on a bit of meat, a bit of bone. You will find many of these antelope, especially in the breeding season, the females, when they're far into their maternity, feeding on some bones to try and get some calcium. But I've never really seen any antelopes feeding on meat. They are vegetarians for the most part. So pretty in the beautiful green leaves. But I'm going to be sopping out after this segment with Raymond, who's going to be jumping into the hot seat. Maybe we'll be able to find out where Tandy's gone, but she hasn't come out of that block. It's going to be very difficult. But well done, Trishala. She's having some serious leopard luck this morning. This afternoon. Tandy this morning, and now Tandy's daughter. There's Impala's luck. Did you say Tandy? Did you say Tlalamba? What? Both of them? Let's see what they do when I can say, have you ladies seen Hokomore? I think that Impala just died inside. The craft, hello. You want to know if they spread out more to sort of defend against predators? If anything, as the food resource gets less, you might get the herds not getting as big. But as the breeding season and the vegetation starts to sort of increase, you might get larger herds together. But for the most part, Impala herds really do hang out together, and it's safety in numbers. It might look like they're doing it to protect each other, but they're all trying to be in the middle of the herd. They're all trying to be as far away from the edge as possible. And whoever's on the edge, yes, this one right here is going, what are you talking about, edges? Whoever's on the edge has got an increased chance of getting caught. But by being in these herds, the larger the herd, the more vigilant the animals tend to be. Obviously, there's a tipping point with regards to that. More eyes, more ears, there's more time to be feeding. More eyes and ears are up and about, more time with your head down. It's very hard to eat when you're looking around. Very, very hard indeed. And one of the reasons why being a ruminant is such a valuable trait.
It is such a valuable trait. We can't digest cellulose. In fact, no animal can digest it. We all have to use something else to help us digest it, like microbes. Although I must tell you that stick insects, after years of eating microbes, have stolen part of their DNA and incorporated it into their own so they can digest cellulose. Just a side note. Had to throw that in there. Our princess is now resting before the feast begins. I'm just having a good look at the Impala ewe that's in the tree, and you can see that there is not much eaten when we have a look at it. Also, please don't have a look if you are sensitive. But the neck is bloodied, just perfectly where that leaf is blocking it, but you can see there's a little bit there. So the bite was made right there. And now she needs to rest before she can actually eat her prize, her efforts. I'm not sure there's much prettier archer in the bush than, just visually, than a leopard lying in a tree. Felix, you'd like to know if this is the strongest female leopard in the Djuma area. There's a few female leopards that we have in Djuma. These include Tlalamba that you see here, Tandi, as well as Shidulu. I think that Shidulu is a little bit bigger than Tlalamba. But it's hard to say who is stronger. Tlalamba is a big leopardess herself. I think that she's bigger than Tandi. Tandi is quite petite but very strong and a very good huntress, if the measure of strength is the capability to hunt. But Tlalamba also, I'd say Tlalamba makes most kills that we see. There was a time where she'd make a kill and sacrifice it to the hyenas and then go along and make another kill. I've had her eating an impala leg that she stashed under a log, and then when she was done with it, she took a Nyala female right in front of my vehicle, out of nowhere. She makes a lot of hunts, or maybe it's just that we happen to see them. If you could... And back to sleep. I was about to say, if you could tear yourself away from this lovely image of Tlalamba. Oh, never mind. I had two lilac-breasted rollers sitting together, and then they were apart, and then they were together again. But now they are gone. Just very cutely sitting up there. Emily, you'd like to know why she won't eat straight away? She's tired. All that energy that was taken to pursue the animal, and then that burst of speed to take it down, took a lot out of her. Now, if she had to eat now, she would be even more tired and absolutely exhausted, because digestion of protein and meat takes a lot of energy as well. So she needs to calm down, and she needs to just relax a little bit and get her breathing all good. Just relax before she can start eating comfortably. You can see she's still breathing quite heavily, but a little bit less so than she was when we first got her. Whoops. Louis, you say that Tlalamba is an ace huntress. She certainly is, and you know what? She learned from the best, her mother Tandi. And I'm sure she'll tuck in very soon. She's already up looking at the carcass, and we'll be here when she does.
So, this is the deal, people. I've got, if this duck comes out, and, you know, we don't know, so little is known about these ducks, that's why we got to get it. Gendre, I'm willing to bet, and I could be completely wrong, on Southern African shell ducks, it's probably one of the, if not the first time ever, that it would have been filmed, this duck coming to and from the burrow. So, please don't hold it against me if I'm wrong. I might be wrong. These things happen, but I'm pretty sure it'll be the first time. But because just the way this whole thing works with the different drives and different safaris, this duck doesn't come out the burrow and mess around and waste time out, because it's at its nest. It wants to get away as quickly as possible. So it's going to pop out that hole and then do a run up and take off straight away. The chance of us actually getting that on film while we're live is incredibly small. But the key thing is, once we know she's out, she'll come back, because she's got eggs in there. Okay, so she'll go feed, and it's when she comes back that we will have no excuse if we don't get it. So this is going to be super, super, super exciting, and I'm holding everything I can to try and hope that we actually get this duck coming in. It's going to be very, very tough. I'm not even going to pretend it won't be, but even if we can get a glimpse of it going in there, I will be absolutely ecstatic. Shaggy Dog has asked, how deep would the eggs be in that burrow? Shaggy Dog, that's a great question, and I genuinely don't know the answer to that. They've actually recorded, so what's really cool about this nest, okay, of 13 that were studied, that's the sample size that we're working with. Of 13, 9 of them were in aardvark burrows. 3 of them were in porcupine burrows, which is essentially the same kind of size as an aardvark burrow, and only 1 was down a spring hare burrow. This one is a spring hare burrow. Okay, so it's only the second record to my knowledge of them nesting down spring hare burrows. That's really cool. So that, we don't know, to come back to your question, we don't know how deep that particular burrow would be. It might be back 2 or 3 meters. It could be further. But there's one case where it was actually well documented. In an aardvark burrow, the actual nest where the eggs were was 9 meters. 27 feet back down the burrow. Okay, so I think that would be an exceptional case, but it just shows there would be a lot of variation. I'm guessing it's probably 3-4 meters at the most. And yesterday when I sat here, like I say, I got the female coming out and then coming back later, almost an hour later, but in between there were 2 jackals, 2 black-backed jackals. They trotted past literally within 3 meters of the entrance of the burrow. They didn't even take a second look at it. So either the nest entrance is so well in terms of scent, has got next to or no scent, or else the jackals are aware it's there, but it's just not even worth their time and energy to try and go dig eggs out. And I would go with that one.
Good afternoon, everybody. We are at Djuma Private Game Reserve. My name is Raymond. On the camera, we have got BK. So I believe that you did enjoy the Kalamba, which is very nice leopard on a tree. Now we are right on the spot together with the head of impala. Mostly you can see those female one to identify the male and the female of leopard. The female one doesn't have horns, and the male do have horns. So they look around all direction at the same time as the head, to see if is there any predator very close. So now they tell us that there is no predator very close. You can see it's relaxing, scratching, limping. It is sort of like they want to really, we can't identify exactly that is get set. Maybe I would say because they don't have any memory. After once it's happening, they will keep on shouting for a few minutes. After 20 minutes, they start bronzing or grazing again. So not definitely that they're upset, but they saw what had been happened. So later on, they will start bronzing. We can say it's just because they don't have any memory. They forget what had been happened. Not to us that we can take it for a period of years and years to keep on thinking that whatever happened. this impala will move towards the dam at Chitwa to see if maybe we can see something active on that dam. Welcome back, everyone, again. We are still here being so patient with our cheetah. As you can see, they can't stay very, very, very stationary now. It seems to be more relaxed. Doesn't really seems to be anything around for them. So while we just like sitting with them and see, well, sorry about, look like a herd of elephants from the miles away, just moving across. So look like, yeah, she's just hanging around here at the moment. Like, doesn't look like she's gonna move at all. Wow, look, so beautiful face, and she just looked tired. She's been trying so many times, quite a number of times, and yeah, you look at the caps, they've gone very flat as well. It depends in the area, and also then some other places is more open area, but the speed they can move, they can easily make like 110 to 120 kilometers per hour, but they not always use those speed like that if they're not too sure if they're gonna catch what they're chasing. That it's quite difficult one to tell exactly what. It's always different speed. Right. Now she's opening her eyes, looking at us, but doesn't look like she's any interested about anything. Just checking around her like as usual. Wow. Lovely sunlight. Yeah, beautiful light there, Peter. I like that as well. Yeah, looks like she's gonna be here for a little while. She's not gonna move anywhere for now. We'll just sit and wait, like always. Being a patient always helps.
This girl has picked up her head. Of course, we have some sticks in the way. Of course, all our sightings today of leopards have been with sticks. You can see that some of the birds are still going quite crazy. I'm sorry, I can't hold it in, so I'm just going to tell you there's a Faroese eagle owl behind us, but we can't show you because it's very difficult to see unless you want to give it a shot, Craig. And that's why some of the birds are still going. Oh, look at that. Look at that. With their gorgeous eyeshadow. And it's in that beautiful jackalberry that I always hope to see something in. Look at that head. So owls can turn their heads 3/4 of the way each way. So it's a 240. That's because they can't move their eyes in their sockets. Whoa! Little bit creepy, but I love it. They can't move their eyes in their sockets, so they need to compensate for that by the movement of their necks. You might wonder, why can't you do it? Well, it's because you have two types of joints that assist your neck in moving. One that's up down and one that's side to side. Owls just have side to side. Also, you might block out circulation to your brain if you tried. That would also cause you to be at your end. But owls have quite a large area to actually store blood. So at the momentary time in which their arteries are blocked off, they actually are able to still provide oxygen to their brain by that little pool of blood. Oh, Gary, you'd like to know if our lovely owl and our leopard would coexist in a tree without conflict? I doubt it. Both are quite territorial. Both are solitary. Oh, well done, Craig. And both don't want attention drawn to themselves because they both want to hunt. And they're not in the same tree. They are in a different tree, as you saw. Can't say I know if a leopard did taking an owl. Owls are stealthy. They're like the leopards of the air. If you do get a chance, I'm not sure where I found it, but perhaps Google some keywords that I'm going to give you now. There was an experiment done where a sound, so little microphones were set up in a row, and then a bird was launched from one side to the other, and then they recorded the wing beats, the sound of it. And they had all sorts, and you could hear very clearly, and you could see it in the sound waves that were recorded. And with an owl, you got nothing, absolutely nothing. I like how Craig says to me, it was a barn owl. Yes, the experiment did have a barn owl. But owls have frayed edges to their feathers. So that means that air that would make that sound from movement doesn't collect and hit in one go. It can very slowly get released through these frayed edges. They also beat their wings or flap their wings less often than other birds do. Columba has now looked away from us, saying, oh, you want to look at me and talk about the owl? Okay, I'm going to look away then. I think her breathing has become a little better. It's good weather for her to relax, and of course good weather for her to have hunted in the daytime. It's overcast and it is cool, and surely she will go to eat very soon.
Our leopard is certainly relaxing at the moment. There is a little bit of activity every now and again, but it seems like the grooming and the yawning that we saw was him preparing for a nice big nap. And so we've waited it out. He is now just opening his eyes. It looks like he might yawn. And so we're a little bit undecided as to, whether this might be the time that he decides to get up and move around. So I don't know if you saw that. There was a little fly that just landed on his nose for a brief instant that he reacted to. Elissa, if a leopard does what a lion does to make it smell bad, then they do. They've got a very stinky scat. But, I mean, we've been watching this male for quite some time now, and leopards generally spend a lot of time keeping themselves very, very clean. And so, because they're clean and they get rid of all of the blood and the stuff that might start to rot around the side of their faces, They don't really smell too much. But what I always find very, very interesting is when this male starts marking his territory, or any male in general actually, if you're following them down the road and you watch them squirt their urine against the bushes and you drive past it, most of the time you'll get this very, very strong smell of popcorn. And so that's actually a really nice smell to smell. So leopards, I don't think are as smelly as lions at all, actually. I think also if you look at their coat, just the way that their hair, it always seems nice and pristine. It's in very good condition. To me, it looks like it would be very, very soft at the touch. Whereas a lion's, you can see it's very short hair. It's very, very, I guess, like sharp hair, where this seems like it's just very soft. There's a roll over again. And so we were mentioning a couple of things about how old or how to age a leopard. And if you see him yawning again, and he opens his mouth and reveals those big, long, sharp teeth, look at the color of them. There'll be this yellow color. And so that's also quite a accurate way. He's up, and he's looking up at his kill. And another yawn. This is the most we've seen him yawning in a while. Again, we don't want to get our hopes up too much. I don't want to jinx anything. But this is by far the most movement we've seen of him in the last half an hour or so. There we go. Oh, no, just a scratch. I hope everyone's at the edge of their seats watching, because he's up. So Debbie, this male, let's just watch. I might answer your question shortly. I just want to see if he does decide to climb. He's walking to the base of the tree. He's at the base of the tree now. Is he going to do the classic leopard thing and climb on the opposite side of the tree where we don't get to see him? So Debbie, it took, I think, less than a year. I wasn't here when he was still looking. He's moving away from the tree now. I wasn't here when he was in the process of being habituated. I've only known him as a relaxed leopard. And so I'll check with a couple of the guides who were around, but I think it was probably somewhere in the region of between 6 months to a year. And look what he's doing now. So scraping with the back legs. He's just urinated there, and he might scrape again. So he might even move away from this carcass, which is quite surprising. Look how he's watching a bird, snarling at it. It's a tawny eagle that's coming. This might get him to climb the tree. He's snarling at that bird because a tawny eagle is a scavenger, and so it will, he's going to climb. Come on. I hope I haven't jinxed it, but he's moving back towards the base of the tree now. Here he goes. Oh. He's just sharpening his claws at the moment. He knows how to tease me. It's amazing how he, as a leopard, can recognize that it's a bird that might steal his carcass. And that was, a bird in flight. And so he's still sitting down at the base there. Yeah, he jumps up. He's up. He's going. Amazing. That that is the typical leopard photo. Look how easy he makes it. Oh, that is awesome. And how he just pauses at a nice comfortable spot just to give a quick little scan around. And he's got one more little stage to get to before he gets to the carcass. But he's now all of a sudden very alert. He's got a really nice height advantage where he can look a lot further than when he was on the ground. So you might be seeing a herd of impala that we saw a little bit earlier on. But just look at how high he got within less than a second. It's amazing how strong these leopards are. And he would have carried that kill in his mouth about 1.5 meters higher than where he is now. And for the first bit, when you got to that first fork, it's completely vertical. That's almost 3 meters that he climbed straight up. So Kieran, that's a really nice question, and it's something, it's one of these things that it's probably just human nature. But now if I'm driving down this road, I can guarantee you that every single time I drive past this tree, I'll look up and see if the leopard is here. For the majority of the time, they don't return back to the same tree. Any tree that's climbable is suitable for them, but there are a couple of exceptions. There's a few individuals within this reserve that we see on, if it's not the same tree, it's the same species of tree. The Inyala female is one that comes to mind. She's a young female leopard, and I think this is actually her father, but we've seen her repeatedly in the Inyala tree over the course of about 2.5 years, and now he's going to take a rest in the tree. Oh, that is amazing. Okay, so we've got the hard part, and we were able to watch it, which I'm so happy about. We got to see him climbing up the tree, and we witnessed it live, which is amazing. Now all we need to do is just wait for him to climb up another meter or so and start feeding on the carcass, and then that will be one of the best leopard sightings we've seen, or at least I've seen in the last week or so. So fingers crossed, holding thumbs, let's hope that happens.
Lots of excitement. I'm very happy that your leopard has finally gotten into the tree. I also think it's really interesting that Eric was chatting to you about favorites and how it's a human thing to have or find favorites. I must agree with that. There's certain spots. Sorry, let me just turn that down. A lot of the time when we search for leopards, we see them in a certain place and we want to go back there and hope that we see them again. Because something in us, through knowledge and experience and learning, having seen them there, gives our brain this piece of information. So when you go looking for a leopard or an elephant or whatever it is, just on cue, the elephants scream in the background. When you go about looking for that, your brain is using the information it has, and it has information that was, well, Tlalamba was in this Tambuati, so let's just check it again. But in fact, it depends on so much. And sometimes we think, what is a favorite? A favorite is something that you found most convenient, you found most helpful, that has some attributes, characteristics that are particularly good to you. And for a leopard, maybe it would be, there's no thorns. And when talking about leopard in a tree, there's no thorns, there's no, it's high enough off the ground. I get enough grip on it. My claws. All of that. And when you think about it, so many trees fall into that category. So having a favorite is just something that has the characteristics that you particularly need or enjoy. And for a leopard, those characteristics, like the ones I named, many, many trees fall into that group. It is very much a human thing. In fact, everything is a human thing because the only perspective we see them from is our own. So now you'd like to know if leopards learn from their mothers to choose a particular type of tree. Not actively, and only really passively, in the sense that mothers will make kills and take them into certain trees. Generally these trees, or most commonly these trees, are marulas. And the leopard as a youngster would also climb into those trees to feed on the kill. And from very tiny, I remember seeing Shidulu's cub climbing the tree when she was very, very, very fluffy and spotty. She kind of climbed it like Spider-Man, kind of like all limbs around the trunk and just shuffled around it. So no agility like the adult had, and that she was only about maybe 10 weeks to 12 weeks old at that time. Very little. But they learn the feel of a tree that they are used to. Mum being in and a kill being in. So again, it comes down to familiarity. They'll almost always choose. In fact, I've never seen a leopard in a tree that's thorny or spiny or spiky. And that comes from familiarity. Mum doesn't really say, this is the type of tree that you need to go for. It's also a little bit of instinct, because the reason leopards hoist their kills is because they want to eliminate any competition, particularly competition from hyenas. If they can pull it into a tree, then it's less likely that anything else is going to get their kill, except another leopard. And you'll find that in areas where there are no hyenas, leopards won't hoist their kills. So you imagine that you have something and you want to hide it from your sibling and they come running after you. You instinctually just pull it away and try to hide it or whatever. It's in that basic instinct of keeping it for yourself and self-preservation.
Welcome back. We are still on Chita Dam. There is also a hyena walking through that before we miss him because it's on a motion. It's walking a little bit very fast on a dam wall. You can see now it's starting to run. It's very early for them to start hunting. Normally they hunt during the night. They are nocturnal animal. So because of this weather, can start hunting anytime, especially in the afternoon. Now it's the afternoon for them. They wake up. So we were coming right over here, still running. It's gone. So our purpose also, it was also to come right over here. If we can see something, today it's very, very cold for the weather, for those birds and some activities. We're lucky to find the hippos, but they are inside the water. Let's stop a little bit, you can hear the breath for them. As they can't breathe inside the water, they need to get air outside. Sorry, I didn't copy that. Achisa, I didn't copy exactly the question.
What's the primary food for hippos?
Yes, Kahiso, the hippo, they only eating grass. Nothing else. They're not eating any meat. They don't taste at all. As maybe you heard some other people, they said the people being killed by the hippo, it was not the purpose of eating, it was the purpose of protection for themselves. They don't eat meat at all. They're only eating grass. As I hear the voice which you're hearing, is the voice of Buffalo Weaver singing. Jessica, that's a good question. The hippo at all, they can't swim. They walk. Whatever way you see, whatever it's lying down or standing on the ground. They don't go for deep, deep, deep water. Whatever way they are, the water is not that much deep that they can sink all of them. So they can get a chance to breathe. They only take almost about 6 to 8 minutes without breathing if it is a pressure. But if it's not a pressure, they just breathe normally, like as it is. So that is a good question because hippo and crocodile, they staying in the same place. So according to the territory, the hippo have got their own territory, but the crocodile, together with the hippos, they don't at all fighting against each other because the hippo is only eating grass, the crocodile is only eating meat. So they can move through together in one area where the hippo marks its territory, the crocodile can get in. So unless if it is due to the drought, I have ever seen once, but it was because of the drought, the crocodile managed to catch a baby hippo because its mother, it was already collapsed. So the baby, it was being alone. So the crocodile managed to kill that baby. Crocodile. Hippo is too big to protect its baby against the crocodile. Even the crocodile, they won't take any chance to the baby hippo because can see that its mother wants, due to the protection, as they've got a huge teeth, they can manage to kill that crocodile. So they can be together. Yes, we're gonna move from here to another area because the weather is not favorable for the birds. Our purpose it was just only to get some birds.
But this now is exactly the time when that duck came out yesterday. So we're just going to sit now. We're not going anywhere. I'm absolutely on tenterhooks now. I'm just like trying to stop myself biting my nails. This duck is here. We know she's here. She's downstairs. And I'm desperately hoping that she actually comes out and shows herself for you. I'm going to be over the moon on so many different levels. So we've just got to really bite the bullet, and thank you for all your patience and spending the time with us sitting here. It really means a lot. Okay, we've lost that Gemsbuck completely. Okay, where that bird landed, that's exactly where the nest is, if anyone's wondering. Exactly where that Atlantic chat landed now. That duck nest is right there. So that's where she's going to pop out, just exactly where that bird is, slightly to the right of that bird. And then she's going to do a very, very quick run off and take off. I think she's very close to coming out. This is the time. But we know there was someone that sighted her earlier down at the main dam. The pair, Sheldon and Shelley together. So I'm hoping that I haven't got this wrong today. And that she is still going to come out, because maybe there's the chance that she actually foraged enough earlier and is now already gone down for the night. I don't think so. But we're doing our best. At least we're here. That's show up. That's the starting point. Show up and yeah. This is so exciting. So exciting. Vic has just asked, do shell ducks cluck? Quack. Yeah, they quack. They quack like a normal duck. Quack, quack, quack. Quack. Quack, quack. Quack. No, but we're going to get this duck. We are going to get this duck. Just please be patient. Your call will be answered in approximately 12 minutes and 37 seconds. Don't set your watches. That's okay. And like I say, jackals came past this burrow site yesterday. They didn't take a second look. So we could see them popping up. We know the Gemsbuck's around. There's always the danger of a large animal like a Gemsbuck or wildebeest or giraffe trampling that burrow. But these burrows are quite deep underground, so the substrate is quite firm when you get down to that depth. So I think that would be a very, very small concern. But this is so exciting. This is like easily on a par of getting a honey badger on Swallow, maybe even more so. So let's just be patient.
This male leopard has literally just stood up from where he took a little bit of a breather. And again, I mean, he stood up and now he spent a lot of time scanning around, but we're going to be able to see him head straight towards the carcass by the looks of things. Watch how easy he makes this look. Boom. One jump and he's there. That is incredible. We got it. This is the best view that we have of the carcass, and it looks like it's quite an awkward place for him to start feeding. And I wonder if he, after stashing it up there, he might try and bring it down to an area where he'll be able to rest it securely, and then also be able to sit down and eat. And if we just look at the size of that impala compared to the male, it's quite a lot smaller. So it seems like it's a young, maybe even a young female. And he seems to be feeding, and he's getting right in there. doesn't seem like there's too much decent meat left. It looks like he's focusing his attention around the front and the shoulders. Oh, he's just broken off a big piece. Looks like a rib that he's eating. Listen to the crunching. So with all of this crunching going on, I mean, we can hear it quite clearly. If there's a wandering hyena about, they'll also hear that crunching and they'll come right in. And he's a pretty skilled eater, but on the odd occasion he will drop quite a few pieces, and then the hyenas will come in and try and scavenge off of him. It almost looks like it's only half of the impala left. I mean, I can see a little bit of the tail, but I can't see, I mean, there's two legs sticking out where he's feeding, but I can't see the other two legs. See, just in front of the impala's neck and throat is the tail. And then the leg that they're feeding on there. And this is exactly what we wanted, and it's been so cool that we've got to see him climbing up the tree and then climbing up to make his first feed for the evening. And we've invested so much time in, so we're not going to go anywhere. And I'm just going to sit here and watch him.
Welcome back, everyone. Again, we are still here with our cheetah. As you can see, the two young ones is just sitting down, both of them facing exactly the same direction. Apparently there was a monkey around into the tree up there. Some of the monkey, they already crossed into this open area, and then there's two that's just actually waiting to see if it's anything coming across, like one of the monkey was trying to cross, but no chance. So yeah, so we actually interesting to see what's gonna end up happening, because the monkey just went back again, because the cheetah, this one is still young. They're still trying to learn how they can catch anything for them moving. They always sort of trying to learn if it's a small size for them. So let's sit and see what's going to happen here. The mom even get more excited about that. She's been trying to put more pressure on them. I just dropped. Hello? They will try their best and to stick together, but soon as they come across a female or hit, whoever choose the female before, he'll be more dominant by the time. Anytime they can be, they can actually try to push each other whenever they come across to the female, but they're always trying their best to get chance to mate with the female. Okay. Yeah, it looked like she's trying to get him even more closer. I don't know what she's gonna end up doing. Let's just sit here and wait and see what's gonna end.
So this male is still feeding. He hasn't really changed his position, which I thought was quite surprising. It's not the most comfortable. I mean, if we compare it to 5 minutes ago where he was lying with all fours on either side of the branch, to now having to stand quite precariously on a few different branches there. But he seems to be getting a really good helping of impala. And like I say, there's not too much left. And so this might be done before the end of show if he carries on feeding like this. And then there's no reason for him to stay. And just before we saw him climbing up the tree, we saw him scent marking and scraping his back legs. And that's probably what he'll continue on doing for the remainder of the night. And if that's the case, I mean, if he wants to, he can cover some serious distance. And so catching up to, especially a male leopard like this, after 12 hours of leaving him, is sometimes quite challenging. And so that's why we just need to appreciate every second that we have with him. Because, I mean, he's sometimes quite a tricky leopard to catch up to. So whilst he's feeding, and there's some really cool noises going on with him crunching the bones, I'm just going to sit here for a little bit and just let you listen to what's going on. So listen to the birds, listen to how he's feeding, see if you can hear all the wonderful sounds taking place. So one thing that I've noticed about him is his ear. So his left ear, so it would be on our right hand side, he's got an old cut that almost looks like it's gone about halfway into the ear. And that looks like it's pretty new. I haven't seen it that deep before. Darcy Ann, I wish you were sitting here to listen to the crunching of the bones that you can hear at home. I mean, if you find it impressive through the screen, it really is impressive here. And what I'm loving about this afternoon is that the birds that are going or calling around us, sounded like a greater blue-eared starling that flew over us. There's some francolins and some spurfowls that are starting to chatter away as they start making their way towards a spot to rest up for the night. Now all we need is the snooping hyena to walk up the road and come and sniff around the base of the tree. And in all of this time, with the feeding of the bones and the crunching, I've only seen him drop one little piece of meat that's fallen down. The rest of it he's eaten all to himself. And it takes a long time. I mean, when he was a cub and his mother was looking after him, she would have done pretty much exactly the same thing as this. And if he's inexperienced, he would have gotten up to the tree, and I would imagine in some points, especially when they're hungry, the excitement would have taken over. And a lot of the time, these young leopards will actually drop a kill. And if they're unlucky and there's a hyena lurking underneath it, the hyena will pick up the whole carcass and run away. And then there goes their meal. And so from a young age, they learn to delicately handle this carcass up a tree like this. And look what he's doing now. So he's feeding on one side, but if you look on the right-hand side of the bush, you can see that claw and that paw that's just on the other side to make sure that he doesn't move around too much. And look, those claws are withdrawn, so you can see how big and long they are. That is an amazing shot, because you can see the super sharp claws, and then you can see his teeth. Two weapons that were instrumental in taking down this impala. The claws to ankle tap it, and then the jaws to suffocate the impala. And I mean, I mentioned it earlier, but he's taken this kill up this tree, which is maybe about 5 meters high, only using those claws and his shoulder muscles and his jaw. And that to me is completely remarkable.
Wild Earth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the Wild Earth family.
Welcome back to Chita. We are still right here at Chita, together with the view of the mountain. I believe that you did enjoy very well. The leopard which is crunching the bone on top of the tree, that is amazing. We don't see quite often. It is something special that you can enjoy it. So right over here we have got the wildebeest and a waterbuck, sort of like a herd of waterbuck, together with this wildebeest. We're part of protecting each other. Wildebeest also good on smelling, and they like an open area, as we are on open area. You can see that wildebeest, that waterbuck. They have got a white rim at the back. That's call it a toilet sitter, because they said no. These animals were very, very lazy. During Noah's time, they were hiding in a toilet while they just painting the toilet. So Noah took all the other animals, and this one stayed behind. But finally he said, I will take you with, but let's go. And they find ourselves, oh, naughty one. And find themselves that, they have a white rim at the back. Sort of like a joke, that is a follow me sign. So These animals are called waterbuck because they can cross the river no matter how full it is. And they can swim, very good swimmers. They can infinitely protect themselves by getting to the water if the predator is very close to the water instead of, because sometimes the predator, they use water sort of like to take those animals back to them. But this one, they won't run off in the water, they run in the water. Look how fluffy they are. So fluffy. Definitely, they're wearing their own coats. Yes, Jennifer. I believe it's not only you. Most people, they do like this one. As they are fluffy, that they look like as they don't worry about the weather. No matter it's cold, they still wearing coat. It's winter, it's summer, they still wearing their coat. We will move back to Juma's site. Maybe we'll find something special.
Like a summer duvet to keep you cool in the summer and warm in the winter. The coats of animals. Look at this gorgeous girl. We now have a nice view of her face, her gorgeous pink nose. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. She's sitting in a way that allows her tummy to look very cute and furry, like it needs a rub. And soon it is going to be very fat. George, you'd like to know when signs of a leopard's pregnancy start showing. So a leopard is pregnant with a gestation period is about 110 days. And she will start showing signs quite close to actually the birthing time. So maybe a month before that, if we say 3 months, in about 2 months, you'll start to see that she's got her nipples will be getting larger. Her tummy gets a little bit fluffier. But her size doesn't change very much. You'd think that the obvious one would be that she'd get really, really big and round. But she kind of looks like she's fed, or well fed. And really, it's not until the cubs are born that you can be sure. Because then you'll see suckle marks on those teats. So it's very difficult to tell. Her behavior as well. she'd be looking for good spots to give birth. She'd be looking for a nice den site. And if you are lucky enough to find her in that search, then that would be another clue. What a lovely, peaceful moment. There's a green wood hoopoe that's chirping behind us. She's having a nice sleep, and none of the impala are shouting at her anymore, or the francolin. I think she might stay this way for a while. I was hoping she might go to eat, and hopefully we will be lucky.
So no sign of this duck yet. I'm not giving up hope until the show is done and dusted. I promise you we're going to stay here, and I will come back tomorrow afternoon, and the afternoon after that, and the afternoon after that, and so on and so forth, until I get asked to stop. No, guys, I promise you this is going to be totally worth it when we do get this duck. It's going to make, yes, I promise you I'm going to be over the moon. And why I'm so excited about this is if we can follow this family, and when they rock up at the dam one day with all these little ducklings, it is going to be easily on a par with cuteness in terms of, if you compare it to the meerkats. You guys are all going to absolutely love these ducks to bits. So we know she's in there, she's on the egg, she's on the nest. There's no disturbance here whatsoever. It's just so we know so little about these birds and their behavior around the nests that this is really all new stuff to us. Well, certainly to me it's all new stuff. And again, thank you, big thank you to everyone for your patience and bearing with me on these weird little missions we go on. But it's really cool and it's really fun.
Welcome back. We're still at Djuma. We're viewing the sunset, which just looks so very pretty. There is no wind, nothing. Let's have a moment of silence to hear what is going to, the sound of the bush. That's so wonderful. When I try to move back in Djuma site, maybe we'll be lucky to see something special. It's almost about the time for the cats to hunt now.
Our day has just gotten 10 times better, and I can't believe it. We are sitting watching at least 3 members of a pack of wild dogs with this magnificent sunset behind us. I can't believe the day that we've had. It's been unreal. Amazing to see these dogs sitting and not really moving around too much. We haven't really had a look at them, but if you look from where that one dog is, and you come into the grass, there's a little shrub, and that's where one of the other dogs is, and then one slightly closer. So there we go, there's the other one. and then one just behind it. So there's at least 3 of them here. And it's just absolutely incredible what we're experiencing. The other one is right over there. You can see it moving around. And just look at its face. It seems like it's covered in red and orange. Linda, I'm glad these are your favorite, and I'm so glad that we've gotten to show you them. They are a real big hit on safari a lot of the time. And I mean, this is the first time that we've seen wild dogs, probably in the last 2.5 months, I think. So it's been a long time coming. And so I was saying, I mean, that it looks like they might have already fed for the afternoon. And it's interesting to see only 3. I mean, usually they do occur in quite large packs. And I mean, I haven't really seen them well enough to try and identify which pack they come from. But to see only 3, and to see them not wanting to, after a feed, race back to a den site, might mean that this season they might not have denned. Because at this time of year, majority of the wild dogs within the Kruger National Park would have already given birth by now. And I mean, it's very taxing looking after a litter of puppies. And so the alpha female who stays behind will need to be fed constantly. And so usually what happens with wild dogs is once they've made a kill, they'll eat as quickly as they possibly can, and then they turn and run straight back towards the den site to feed the alpha female. And so it could be that maybe they've decided it's too far away, perhaps, or maybe the 3 of them might just be a breakaway from one of the packs. I'm not sure. So, I mean, we've just lost the last bit of sun. You might just see a quick color change as we put the infrared light on. And this is also, I was talking about how the Tamboti male sometimes gets up and he disappears. These wild dogs cover even more ground. And so I'll definitely try and see if we can find them again tomorrow morning, active and hunting, but they probably would have gone by then. So Sophia, wild dogs are a diurnal predator. They're not nocturnal. And it seems like they've already done the majority of their hunting already. It looks like they probably would have hunted, they could have hunted right throughout the day today because it was nice and cool. But if it's a hot day, they tend to move around in the very early hours of the morning and the late hours of the evening. And they do that because the way that they hunt requires a lot of energy. And so if they have to try and expend energy cooling themselves down, it just is energy lost where they could have focused that in the hunt. And so conditions like this will be perfect for wild dogs to get up and start moving around, but I think they've already fed for the day. And they are quite a small animal, although they are very efficient in packs. They get persecuted by lions, by hyenas, and those animals are active during nighttime. And so to counteract and to reduce the possibility of them coming in contact with one another, they decide to be active, a lot more active during the day. And I'm so glad we've got to see them, and I was almost expecting them to get up and move around, but it does look like they might have settled down for a little bit, and they could rest here throughout the night and in the early morning get up and move. So it's getting to the stage where it's getting quite dark and we won't view them at nighttime. So I'm glad I got to show you them, but I think Owen and I might continue on with our day in the next couple of minutes and see what other nocturnal species we might be able to find for you.
Isn't tucked in. She's very tired. I think it was just such a treat to see her in the first place that think that her being at peace in the evening, just by herself tucking in, I'd be glad. Maybe she doesn't like people watching her eat. I don't like people watching me eat, or taking photos while I eat, or video for that matter. So maybe she's just waiting. Well, the more likely thing is that she's tired, and she's gotten herself in a great position, the one where you don't feel like moving, and she needs a little cat nap. I mean, dinner's there. It's not going anywhere. And if she could smell or hear another leopard coming by, she would be up in no time. This is just a rest. A proper sleep, deep sleep will happen after she's eaten, and she feels comfortable, safe, and satiated because she would have tucked in. Look how gorgeous that tree is. Lovely tambuti. Now, we were also pretty lucky to see the Verreaux's eagle owl again, and there happened to be 2 of them. And one has flown off. We're going to try and show you the other one who's still perched up there. It's a little bit difficult in IR, but at least you can see the outline of the owl. Sticks in all shots today. Well, these guys are monogamous, so it's not surprising to see the 2 of them. Like I said, one has flown off. I love when you sit in a sighting. So we can see a Verreaux's eagle owl, we can hear Scops owl, and we can hear pearl-spotted owlet. How awesome is that? Betsy, you'd like to know if owls have eye restrictions. Owls have very, very cool eyes. Their eyes are not round like ours is. Their eyes are quite long, so almost elliptical. And they sit deep inside of the head. And of course you've seen that they're very round and forward-facing. This depth of the eye allows it to funnel in more light, which is again great for them to be seen in the evening, in the night. And one of the restrictions that they have on that sight is that, or on the eyes, is that they can't move their eyes in their socket. And that's because of that shape. That long tube-like shape of their eye means that they can't move it around like ours do. And that's why they compensate for that with the movement in their neck. They also have a tapetum lucidum, the same thing that causes the eye shine in other animals. And that also gives the retina a second chance to absorb that light and create an even better image. They also have discs around their eye. They have a disc of hair, very fine short hair around their eyes. That are also very good for reflecting in or funneling in light. They also assist in the owl's hearing. TaylorMade, you'd like to know if any other animal has this type of restriction, as in they can't move their eyes. Bush babies can't move their eyes, but they don't have the tube-like shaped eye. At least as far as I know, the only animal I know that has the tube-shaped eyeball is an owl. things like bush babies, eyes, they have such large eyes that they're not able to move them in their socket. Can they compensate for that with movement in their head? In this light, you just think that's a chunky piece of trunk, a piece of branch. Well, Tlalamba hasn't moved much at all. She just got into a more comfy position. Looks like she's got her paw up now. Inga, you'd like to know if an animal died of an illness, would a predator eat it? There's a bit of, it's a yes and a no. I've read about stories that hyenas will, and that makes sense to me because they have a very high immunity and very strong stomach acids. That hyenas will, but then hyenas also stay away. I've also heard that hyenas will stay away from animals that have had rabies or rinderpest. But then other sources say that hyenas will eat those animals. So it's difficult to tell, because a lot of the time what for us identifies an animal as having a disease is not the type of thing a predator would use to identify whether an animal has a disease. Maybe there's a certain smell, maybe it's a certain temperature. Animals can be very, very sensitive to temperature. So it could be a number of factors that will give them an information that something that they're eating is diseased. But that's not the same type of information we use to figure out whether something is diseased. We'd use lab tests, blood tests, things like that. So it's hard to figure out how an animal perceives a dead animal, whether it knows it's dead, whether it knows something else has happened, because we wouldn't know. All we could say is that in this occasion, when I witnessed this animal, it didn't eat this other animal. And that's what we see, these anecdotal, there we go, evidence of someone who's seen a hyena go to a carcass that is dead and contains rabies and did not eat it. But how do we figure out that those are the reasons that it did not eat it? It's very interesting because it kind of talks about our perception versus an animal's perception about something that we know, we both may know. Very interesting stuff and a very, very interesting question.
Welcome back to Chitwa, as we're still on a Chitwa property. I believe that is a conversation. It's a very, very good, according to the dead animal and the one who did manage to kill for themselves. So some they do scavenging, they can go for that one. So right over here we have got the head of elephant which is moving slowly towards the dam. They were sort of like blocking us the road, we can't manage to cross. And we need to respect them, that in order for them to respect us. It's a big head, only those one who see, but there is lots of them. More than 40, all of them all together with the young ones. If you can take a little bit moment of silence, you can hear to what the bush saying about them. And they did welcome by the hippos. Let's have a silence of moment for a few seconds. to believe that we did enjoy that moment of silence. As they are giving us away, I think let's try to move on. Zaxon Kosi, yes, the female one have got a small task, and the male one have got a huge one. So they're still blocking us the way. We don't want to interrupt them. We will move off from this elephant.
So, unfortunately, no sign of this duck. Well, we know she's there, but no sign that I can show you. So I'm really beating myself up here because I'd worked myself into this since yesterday. Well, actually for the past 3 weeks, trying to find the nest, and then we've got the nest. So I was so hoping we could get her today for you. But anyway, these things happen. Sun's gone down, so I don't think I'd be very surprised if she came out now. And the fact that someone saw her down at the dam earlier feeding probably tells me she's gone down for the night. Anyway. Lions ate my mum. I still love that name, by the way. Has asked, are shell ducks the only ones that nest underground? I think so. But I stand to correction. I will check that up for you tonight. There's a lot of birds that nest underground. Grey-rumped swallows, barn swallows, anteating chats. There's lots that nest underground. But I don't know about ducks. Certainly not in South Africa or Southern Africa. And of course you get a ruddy shell duck over in Asia as well. And I think that one nests underground, but I'd have to check that. Ah, my goodness. Yeah, damn it. We tried, eh? We all tried. Anyway. I do get really bleak about these things when you put in a huge amount of effort. Krishna has asked, do shell ducks have any special adaptations for their lifestyle? Their most incredible adaptation is the fact that they nest underground. That is pretty awesome. And what that actually enables them to do is to persist and actually nest in these incredibly harsh environments. Swallow, where we are, is actually kind of the luxurious limit of their range. The heart of their range is really in these super arid areas. Very often in the absence of big trees, so there's no good nesting sites. So they've actually taken this nesting thing to the extreme and says, okay, well, we can't nest anywhere else. What do? Let's go underground. What that means, though, is you need stable populations of things like aardvark, porcupines, spring hares, in order for these species to survive and persist. So I think that in itself is a remarkable adaptation for these environments. not. I hope so, because you're going to be doing this a lot more. So get used to it. Yeah, exactly, Trishna, and it's out of the cold. It's relatively safe from predation. But it does mean that these ducklings, when they hatch, they've got to make it back to the dam. And my initial search pattern for this nest was a radius of 1.7 kilometers away from the dam. That's the furthest nests have been recorded. So my initial search radius that I was working on was 1.7 kilometers. This nest is exactly 800 meters from where it is to the edge of the dam. So, yeah, this is very, very, very exciting. I'm super chuffed that we found this nest. And, yeah, I think we must just stick it out. And even, yeah, we don't have to go crazy over it, but just a couple of drives would be hugely beneficial, I think. But very exciting stuff.
We left those wild dogs now. You can see we're out with the spotlight. I'm driving all over the show, crashing into trees and things. But we decided to leave them. It was getting dark. They had settled down. So, I mean, if anything, they might move around a little bit later on, probably even early on in the morning. So that's probably where we'll start off our morning tomorrow. And I mean, Owen and I were just chatting about what kind of a day we've had, and it has just been insane. Starting off with those lions this morning. Well, it actually started off quite quiet, and then it just all of a sudden the accelerator where just shot up, and then we went from lions to that really cool view of the leopard. We spent the majority of the afternoon with the leopard, and then to end it off with those wild dogs. And I was saying to Owen that it almost feels like we've used up all of our luck already, and so tomorrow morning we're not expecting to see too much, but we'll start off with those wild dogs and see if they're still around tomorrow. The Turiwasha, we actually, I mean, it depends. We don't see the hunts all that often. The species that you see hunting the most is the wild dogs, and it's because they've got so many mouths to provide, especially at this time of year if they've got puppies, and so they'll hunt, especially if the puppies have worked up a good appetite, probably twice a day. But things like leopards and lions will only really hunt every 4, maybe 5 days, 3, 4, 5 days or so. I mean, the last time I've actually had some unbelievable luck recently. We managed to watch the Birmingham Breakaway Pride kill a buffalo, and that was the first kill that I had seen in about 2 months. So it happens on the very, very odd occasion. The thing that makes it hard to see wild dogs hunting is the speed and the distance that they move, and so they run through the bush and you have to try and keep up with them, and sometimes with a big bulky vehicle like this we just can't keep up with the wild dogs. So I guess, yeah, you see them occasionally. But you're asking if a predator has an adrenaline rush when it's hunting, and I think it would. I mean, I haven't asked one if they've experienced an adrenaline rush before, but you can see in their behavior when they become fixated on something. Like when a lion or a leopard spots something that they're very interested in hunting, they sit and they watch it, and you can almost see their pupils becoming dilated. So their pupils expand and they become big, and you can just see that they're concentrating and they're completely fixated on one of those, the animals that they're interested in. So I'm sure there must be some sort of adrenaline. I mean, if a lion is hunting a buffalo, it could be a life or death situation. And so that lion has to go in with as much concentration and as much confidence as possible. And adrenaline will help that for sure. Whilst we have you, Ethan, asked you asked this morning if lions enjoy catnip, and I read a little bit about it, and the only articles that I could read were not really experiments, but people that were playing around with captive animals. And of the 16 lions that were exposed to catnip, 14 of them had some sort of reaction. 2 of them were completely adverse to it, and they didn't react to it. Interestingly, they offered it to the exact amount of tigers, and not a single tiger reacted. So there you go. I mean, I don't know. I've never seen catnip here. I doubt it grows in Africa, so I don't think they naturally will react to it. But in captivity, sometimes the big cats do.
That is some interesting stuff. Catnip, some people say, or one of the theories is that it mimics hormones that leopards would, or cats would normally pick up when they are in estrus, or they're feeling particularly amorous, which is why they tend to roll around in it and give it so much love. Just one of the theories. Well, Talamba is now headless. The head has moved behind some branches. Looks quite strange, but I promise it is there. And what's great about having found her this afternoon is that she's got a kill, and it's in a tree, which means that tomorrow morning she's very likely to be here. And of course, either Steve or I will check it out. Anushka, you'd like to know at what time of the day are leopards most active? That is a difficult question to answer, because it depends on quite a few things. It depends on whether the day is overcast, whether it's cold, whether it's dark, whether it's very hot. If it's a very hot day, then they may not be active until maybe very, very dark in the nighttime, and when it's very, very cool. But mostly we say that they like to be active in the very early morning and the early to late evening, as soon as it starts to cool down, even through the night. But in that daytime period, they'll want to rest up in a nice patch of shade. Some questions seem so straightforward, but in fact they can be quite complex, especially when we get to know the animals the way we all do by watching our live drives. Well, guys, it's that time of the evening. We're going to say good night or good day or good morning wherever you are in the world. Thank you for your questions and your comments. We'll see you in the morning for Sunrise Safari.